Hi, my name is Belema Abule, and this is an introductory lesson on a six-part lesson format for teachers. Before you start writing a lesson plan in the 6 phases, you should write a little bit of a preamble that will help anyone who picks up the lesson note to understand what it's for and how to use it. Of course, you should include your week of teaching, the term, the session, the subject and the topic, the age group and the class. Now find out the duration of your lesson and include the time there. List out your learning objectives. You can also jot down the prior knowledge pupils have on that topic or any other cross-curricular links that will be useful for the lesson. Remember, prior knowledge talks about what students already know about the topic and what they need to know. List out your teaching aids, your references, and define any key terminology that will help the teacher teach the lesson effectively. Let's talk about the learning objectives. Your learning objectives should be written within a time frame, they should be achievable, they should be measurable, age appropriate, and they should describe learning, not the tasks. Let's talk about how we can categorize and classify learning using learning objectives. Bloom's taxonomy gives us a guide on how we can group learning objectives into different classes. Bloom's taxonomy can be interpreted to measure comprehension, understanding, application, analysis, evaluation, and creation of knowledge. Now we can use this to measure lower order thinking skills up onto higher order thinking skills. Let's talk about remembering and knowledge. When you're using objectives to measure knowledge and retention, you can use keywords like define, label, name, recall, and so on. Then understanding can be measured using words like interpret, clarify, paraphrase, or illustrate. Or application, you use words like demonstrate, apply, model, and build. And analysis can be measured using categorize, dissect, or discover. Evaluation can be measured using validate, use an opinion to support or judge, and creation can be measured using compose, develop, and invent. So for example, your objective should take the form of, by the end of lesson, students should be able to define, or we are learning to illustrate, we are learning to assemble, and so on. So you should list out your objectives in this format. Let's go into the 6-part lesson formats. The first is the lesson starter. Include your entry behavior and any other activity that will excite and engage learners from the very start. Allow pupils to share experiences, prior knowledge through discussion or a specific activity. You can use a starter like this one, which can be used in math. Put 9 dots in a square and ask a student to come to the board or on their sheets of paper to connect all 9 dots with 4 straight lines. They can't lift the pen or the chalk from the surface, they have to take it through. Let's try this one out. See the first line, the second line, the third line, and the fourth line. 4 straight lines connecting all 9 dots. That can be done in a very short time to engage learners from the very start. You can also try the box game. Draw a box on the floor or indicate a box, an imaginary box in the front of the classroom. Call out a student or more than one student to stand in the box. Then they have to answer questions correctly to leave the box. The first person out of the box wins the game. Or you can try taboo. Call on a child at the end of a lesson or beginning of the lesson and give them a key word in secret. You can whisper it into their ear and ask them to describe that word to the entire class using any other word apart from the key word, and have everyone guess until they find the right word. Just to get children thinking about the lesson or the topics that you intend to teach. Let's go to the second phase, the connect phase. Now in this phase, state and explain the topic and the learning objectives. Introduce pupils to the new vocabulary that will help them understand the lesson better. Refer to prior knowledge and the relevant information they will need for the topic and set a good foundation for the main lesson. In the activate stage, this is a part where you actually teach and get pupils to listen to you from the start to the finish. Use activities that will allow students to process new information, help them identify patterns, rules, and conventions to help them understand. help them to develop their own understanding, then check for understanding in groups and allow questioning and room for clarification. Then on to the demonstration of understanding. Allow students to consolidate and apply what they have learned using various forms of responses. It could be written, diagrammatic, physical, visual, auditory, and oral responses. This is a very important part of every lesson and should not be left out. Then move on to the evaluation. At this point, use the understanding from the class activity and give pupils specific feedback on how they can consolidate their learning. Allow pupils to reflect on their objectives, how much they've achieved, what they have achieved, summarize the lesson, and then close the lesson. And finally, include your reinforcement. Write down any measures for follow-up and reinforcement of the topic. Here you can include your homework assignments, note copying, possible exam questions, and any other school-specific measures that are used to reinforce a lesson after it's been taught. So we've come to the end of this lesson. Thank you for watching.